Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome back Paul Salway from Optics Digital. Thanks very much for joining us, Paul.
Hi, Lee. Good to be with you again.
There used to be a time when practices would just have a phone line and an answering machine, and they'd wait for the phone to ring. Maybe if there was phone calls overnight, they'd return the calls again the next morning. But because websites are 24/7 now, we need to find a way to meet patients where they're at, or meet website visitors where they're at. So, Paul, it'd be great to talk about what are some ways that we can help our website visitors to connect with us, to make appointments with us.
Yeah, it's a really good question, Lee. I mean, I think probably we should talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of phone calls as a booking option for starters. I think you kind of touched on one of the disadvantages is that you can only really respond in real time during business hours. If somebody's calling you outside of regular business hours, that introduces friction in the process because they don't get a chance to talk to someone straight away, and they've got to wait for a reply, and then there's that potential of like telephone tag. You're calling them, they call you back, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. So that introduces a lot of inefficiency to your business. Um, then again, I guess on the plus side, maybe there are patients who have sort of complex needs, and sometimes you do want to get them on the phone to talk about what their needs are, so you can offer something appropriate. So I think there are advantages and disadvantages to it. I think that from an efficiency viewpoint, it's definitely better to have a process in place where patients can make the booking, autonomously. And I think that more and more, particularly younger generations, they kind of expect that all the businesses that they deal with will have some sort of online booking option. So like, millennials, Gen Zs, um, you know, I think that there is that expectation from a lot of people now that if you are a credible business, then you do have some sort of like um, online booking option. I mean, I think I mentioned to you I made an appointment myself for an eye test this week, and the optometrist that I went to, I did that booking purely online through their booking engine, and it was very sort of seamless process. It was very intuitive. Um, I didn't have any issues with it, so I was impressed with that whole process. So so I think it does kind of like increase the user perception of your practice if they have that kind of experience when they come to actually booking an appointment with you. When I was doing my analysis of optometry sites in Australia, I found that more than half, I think it was just more than half of the sites that I looked at did have some kind of booking engine in place. I think it was like 55% of sites had some kind of booking engine as an option. Um, so the other 45% was either simply place a phone call, or they had some other option like a generic web form that people fill out asking for an appointment, which is problematic, I think, for other reasons which we might get into. But yeah, so I think it was about 55% of the sites did have some sort of booking engine, and the the main one that people were using is My Health First, and I think maybe you're familiar with that one, Lee. There are a couple of others. HotDoc was a small percentage, and there might have been some others. So what's your experience with booking engines?
Yeah, there's so we use My Health First as well, and yeah, it's been a pretty seamless process for patients, as you say, just like you found that. Yeah, it's great
Mm.
to be able to book in.
And so what is the cost associated with implementing My Health First?
There may be a setup fee. It's been a while since we joined, but it's around about $65 a month for one practitioner, and then a small extra fee for if you have more than one practitioner you're trying to book for.
Mm.
It's at the same
Mm.
time.
Right. And I got an SMS text reminder on my phone just this morning, reminding me that my appointment's in a couple of days. So it looks like that's a built-in feature of the system as well, is to send out um, text reminders, and that's a great feature because sometimes people don't always open their email inbox, but or at least not as frequently as they look at their phone, but there's a lot of evidence that text messages get opened and get looked at, a high percentage, very high percentage of the time. So if you do want to make sure that your patients don't forget about their appointments, yeah, some sort of system where an SMS text reminder is sent out. That's going to be really beneficial, I think.
Absolutely, and especially with My Health First, it's something that the practitioners don't have to do anything for. It's automatically
Yeah,
set to send that reminder out.
yeah, that's right. And 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 so that My Health system, does that does that integrate with any of the other on-site health management systems that you have in your practice, like patient records, that sort of thing? Is there some integration there locally for you?
Yes, we use Sunix Vision, and it integrates with that. And I believe it might work with some of the other systems like Optimate as well.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think I think we can take it as a given that that My Health First and other similar types of health booking systems, the security is a very much an inbuilt feature of that service they provide. And we talked in the last interview about the Privacy Act and privacy provisions, all that sort of thing. So we need to consider those aspects anytime that you're collecting information from patients, and I think that applies whether or not that information was solicited by you or not. So if patients are providing information about themselves that you didn't ask for, but nevertheless it's sensitive information, then that still puts an onus upon you to handle that information with great care and attention. So this is where I think having some sort of dedicated dedicated appointment booking facility, like My Health First or something similar, is really advantageous. The in America, in the United States, there is something called HIPAA, which I can never remember this acronym. I think it's health information portability. No,
Yeah,
did I get it
and
wrong?
and Privacy Act, I think.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
right. It was something that I think that they brought in during the Clinton era, but it's like in the United States, the United States is a very sort of litigious culture.
yeah,
So people, companies getting sued, it's an everyday event over there. So HIPAA was brought in as a kind of like standard, that businesses can use for making decisions about how they collect and manage people's private health information. So I think that we can kind of take that as a global gold standard for how health information is managed. Now, I have looked at it. different software as a service SaaS options for collecting patient information online, and there are not many that meet that HIPAA compliance. There is one called Jotform, and so Jotform, it's a pretty big company now. It's been around for a long time, and they have a HIPAA compliant plan where any information that they collect, it's all encrypted. Like the access is all, it's all, it's very secure. Put it that way. So I think that if for some reason you don't want to use any of the dedicated healthcare booking platforms like My Health First, another option could be to use something like Jotform and their HIPAA compliant plan. So if that's, for whatever reason that may be, that could be an option for you. There are other appointment booking SaaS products like Calendly, for example. But Calendly doesn't say that it's HIPAA compliant. It doesn't make any promises around that. So so I think that you have to be a little cautious for that reason. Also, when it comes to online sales, like if you've got eyewear consumables like contact lenses, cleaning fluids, all that sort of thing, if you're selling that online now, potentially that could involve collecting personal information as well, including sensitive information. If people are uploading copies of their prescriptions and so on, then that's introducing information into the e-commerce sphere that now you have to be careful about how you manage. So Shopify, for example, is a very popular online, it's a very popular e-commerce platform, and I think it's a good one. But again, they don't promote themselves as being HIPAA compliant. They don't make any promises around that. They did actually have an embarrassing data breach a couple of years ago, where a couple of rogue employees, I think, released information about 200 or so of their merchant accounts. So so take that for what it's worth. Jotform, I just mentioned before, Jotform, under their HIPAA compliant plan, they do actually have an online store option. So if that's something that you wanted to do, I think you could do a lot worse than get a Jotform HIPAA compliant online store account, and that would enable you to provide that online facility, but still collect and manage the data in a responsible way. That's not going to expose yourself to you know to breaches of privacy laws and so on.
And Paul, Jotform would be easy to add to a WordPress website.
Yeah. In fact, there's a WordPress plugin that you can install that just interacts directly with Jotform. And even if you're not using a WordPress site, Jotform will give you just an embed code that you can just embed directly onto your site. And without getting into the weeds too much here, what effectively that does, it creates like a little window in your website, so that, like, for all intents and purposes, any visitor coming to your website, they think they're on your website, but that form that they're looking at and that they're interacting with, that's actually taking them directly to Jotform's servers. That information doesn't pass through your server at all. That means that you're not liable for that information because you're never collecting it in the first place. So something like that. Any kind of HIPAA compliant solution, I think, is going to give you a lot of peace of mind when it comes to handling sensitive information.
Sure.
And I know that, like, for a lot of healthcare, a lot of eye healthcare professionals, a lot of optometry practices that sell contact lenses and that promote contact lenses. One of the concerns that they have around that is that patients try to stretch their usage of those lenses. They don't always refresh their supply as quickly as they should. And I know you've got a great analogy for that one, Lee. What is it again?
Where patients reuse their underwear day after day, it's just not a good fit.
No, it's not good for anyone. So yeah, so as optometrists, we don't want that. We want patients to use their contact lenses responsibly. And so, what you can do to that goal is encourage patients to like buy their lenses in bulk, like maybe buy a 1 year supply. And then there are some advantages that come with that. So you can offer them perhaps some sort of bulk discount on the pricing. But also, like if you can offer those kind of like resupplies through an online facility, through your website, some sort of e-commerce functionality on your website, then that's also a convenience factor for your patients. We're all doing business now in the age of convenience. Everybody wants things to be faster, cheaper, more convenient. And so if you're offering a facility for people to be able to place an order and get their 1 year supply of lenses online, then that's going to be good for them and good for you. So that's one option. But I think there also is another business model around that, and I don't know how many people are doing this, but have you ever heard, Lee, of the? Have you ever heard of the Dollar Shave Club? I think that's what it's called, Dollar
Yes,
Shave.
yes, I've
Yeah,
purchased from them before.
you have. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So how does their business model work?
Yeah, it's very much the subscription. So you buy a subscription, and they ideally want you to get a refill every month or every second month.
Right.
Yeah, so it's building up value over time.
Right, and so with that subscription model, you pay like a little bit each month, and they just automatically send you the product in the mail. That's how it works, isn't it? I mean, you don't have to physically remember to go in and order it every month. They just arrive in the mail on schedule, and so and I think that's a business model that I don't know how many optometrists are doing this, but I think maybe that's something that they could think about is offering like the Dollar Shave business model of allowing people to set up like a monthly subscription for their contact lens products. And so it's good for you because it means that you've got like some it's good for you as a business owner, I mean, because you've got you've got that reliable cash flow coming in every month. You know that that subscription is just going to roll over and keep going. It's good for the patient because it just saves them time. They don't even have to think about it. It just becomes just it's just one less thing for them to worry about. They're going to get the products that they need when they need them. And also that they don't have to make this big commitment every year. Like every year, if they think to themselves, "Oh no, I've got to buy another 12 months worth of contact lenses. How much is that going to cost again?" And they have to go through this exercise of like justifying it in their mind every time. They have to do the calculation.
Yeah,
But if they're on a subscription model, well, it's a few dollars. It's not a big commitment, so they don't spend time thinking about it. So I think that is a business model that I think a lot of optometrists can consider, and could be a good way of getting secure cash flow, secure reliable cash flow.
for sure. And Paul, with your analysis of optometry websites, did you come across websites using like instant chat or social media messaging, or do you have any thoughts on that from your analysis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't I didn't actually keep data on that because it was so rare.
Right.
I didn't see very much of that. So maybe next time I do this, when I update my data on this, maybe next year I'll include that as one of the things I look at. But I think it would have been like in the single digits in terms of percentages, probably low single digits. I didn't see a lot of sites using like live chat widgets on their site. And I think it's something that's worth thinking about. I guess the maybe the downside to it is that the downside to that is that your staff have to sort of like interact with those widgets. They have to they have to respond. They have to know that they need to respond to any inquiries promptly. Sometimes what happens is people fill out the like when you set up one of those widgets, you can set up a bot like a chat bot to ask particular questions and then collect the data. Sometimes you don't always get complete information from people or appropriate responses. So, but I think it can be useful. It can be worth a try.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's options like WhatsApp, where you can get a notification on your phone if someone's tried to message you as well.
Right. Yeah. 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 WhatsApp is quite a popular one. Facebook Messenger. I think if you got a Facebook if you've got a Facebook business page, it should be pretty easy for you to set up um, a Facebook Messenger chatbot on your website as well. So, yep. So those are good options.
Yeah, great. And say if someone wanted to talk about some of the options that could work for their website, you're happy for them to reach out and have a chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yep. So, if anyone wants to, get some more advice from me or some recommendations of what they could do on their own site, you can reach out to me at Optics Digital Marketing. That's my agency at opticsdigital.net. And Lee will have a link in the show notes that you can click on to come directly to my contact page, and you can take it from there. I'll be happy to provide any advice or assistance around any of the things that we talked about in this interview.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks very much, Paul. And yeah, appreciate all the useful tips yet again.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. So, I really hope that in the series of interviews we've done, that people have got value out of them, and if there are any optometry practice owners that that do want to grow their business or take their business to the next level, I'd be very happy to help them on that journey, and yeah, so I'm always open to have a chat to anyone who's in that situation.
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge with us, Paul. It's been great.
Yep, my pleasure. So thank you, Lee.